Good day, and welcome to episode 4 of the Abstract Barcode podcast. I am your host, Christopher, where each and every weekday I bring you the news that you may not be aware of while commenting and criticizing on it to the best and worst of my ability. So, without further ado, let's get right to the news. First news story of the day comes from mlive.com. Okay. Church on ice raids, like ICE, not ice. Quote, if you want these families, you're going to have to come through us. End quote. That's the headline. This is by Dana Afana. Faith leaders of 6 Metro Detroit congregations on Tuesday said they plan to act as front lines of protection against an apparent expansion of immigration and customs enforcement raids. They said in a Tuesday press conference at Central United Methodist Church in Detroit that they would provide, quote, sanctuary for endangered immigrant families, end quote, in various ways, including in some cases housing families at risk of deportation. The article goes on to state, let's see. Christian, Jewish, and Muslim faith leaders took part in the announcement, complaining of more frequent ICE raids, an overall rise in hate crimes, and xenophobia. Quote, we believe that breaking families apart is wrong, end quote, said the Reverend Jill Zundel, pastor of the Central United Methodist Church. Quote, we will give comfort to the afflicted and shelter those who suffer. No one will live in fear while under the protection of the church, end quote. Zundel, I hope I'm saying that right, who is currently housing a family from Africa in the Central United Methodist Church building, said her message to President Donald Trump is, quote, if you want these families, you're going to have to come through us, end quote. It goes on to say, quote, the president needed to give guidance, end quote. He said, quote, especially after what they went through in the last administration, where there were so many carve-outs that ICE agents and CPB members had to figure out each individual whether or not they fit in a particular category and they could adjudicate that case. The president wanted to take the shackles off the individuals in these agencies and say, within the quote, you have a mission. There are laws that need to be followed. You should do your mission and follow the law, end quote, end quote. The Birmingham Temple for Jewish Humanism in Farmington Hills was another religious center offering sanctuary. Quote, we have a choice in this country, and we as secular humanistic Jews understand what happens to people who make the wrong choice. So I stand here today not only for my congregation, but for millions of Jews who were left abandoned and whose legacy to us, whose lesson to us must be that we cannot abandon others at their time of need, end quote. The group listed as, quote, declared sanctuaries in Michigan, Central United Methodist Church in Detroit, First United Methodist Church in Ferndale, Birmingham Temple for Humanistic Judaism in Farmington Hills, First Congregational Church in Kalamazoo, and Sunny Six Side, I don't know if that's a typo, Sunny Six Side United Methodist Church in Portugal, and there's no end quote anywhere in there. Some of the comments are, so this church harbors criminals. Arrest them all. And then someone said in reply to that, actually, it's the governor's office that is harboring criminals. like the governor. Another comment. These churches want to play politics, and that's fine. Since they've chosen to be political, they're not entitled to the tax exemption they've been granted. Rescind their exemptions, and then we'll see just how dedicated to politics they really are. Another comment. If you give refuge to a criminal, you're charged as a criminal. If you want to play, be prepared to play. I think that basically says it. If you're harboring someone that has done illegal things or is illegal, okay, let me put it this way. If you're harboring someone who has done something illegal and you know it, you can be arrested. How is that any different from harboring someone who is illegal? If they are illegal in this country, they need to go through the proper channels. Okay? I mean, it seems simple to me. Go through all the proper channels to become a citizen if you want to be here. If you are on a work visa, that's different. But if you are here illegally, that's not right. You need to leave. But, go through the proper channels. Become a real citizen. People do it every year. Some other comments are, I'll just say this one. Good luck with that. In the U.S., religious sanctuary was never recognized in state or federal law. So yeah. Another way of looking at it is, imagine if the church was harboring murderers or someone who robbed a bank who never harmed anyone, or just someone who did something illegal. Would you still go after the people? I'll leave it at that. Next story. Saudi Arabia launches Girls' Council without any girls. This comes from BBC News and states, it was an encouraging initiative for a country not known for giving women a platform in public life. But when Saudi Arabia wanted to show off its inaugural Girls' Council in Al Qasim province, they overlooked one thing: the women. Yep, there's a picture. There's no women on this council. The women were apparently in another room linked via video. Okay. I understand the culture over there doesn't see women as equal. But if you're doing this just to appease the rest of the world, the way you're doing it makes it look like you're an idiot over there doing this. Yeah. I'm not going to go into that. Top comment. Makes about as much sense as them being on the UN Human Rights Council. Ba-dum-dum. Shh. Yeah. Next story comes from zdnet.com. Don't know what this site is. Never heard of it. The story. New York City sues Verizon for failing to live up to fiber promises. The case alleges that Verizon has not kept to a contract to provide citywide fiber coverage. By Charlie Osborne. Yeah, well, if they said they were going to do it, Verizon's being taken to court after allegedly failing to provide adequate fiber services to New York City. The telecoms giant apparently has failed to fulfill a contract signed back in 2008 to give city residents the option to sign up for fiber optic FiOS service by 2014. Now it's 2017, according to New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. The city is, quote, done waiting, end quote. Quote, Verizon must face the consequences for breaking the trust of 8.5 million New Yorkers, de Blasio said in a statement. Verizon promised that every household in the city would have access to its fiber optic FiOS network service by 2014, end quote. Quote, no corporation, no matter how large or powerful, can break a promise to New Yorkers and get away with it, end quote, the mayor said. Well, if they did this and they broke the agreement, kick them out of the city. Make them pay it back. Do something. Don't just let them off the hook. By failing to provide adequate fiber coverage, Verizon is not giving city residents options beyond standard cable services already firmly entrenched in New York City, which arguably could also be hampering competition between different broadband services. There you go. Verizon says the service, blah, 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 have already reached 2.2 million households in the city. However, as noted by Ars Technica, this still leaves up to 1 million households without the option. In the complaint filed on Monday in New York Supreme Court, the city claims that Verizon promised to give all households access to FiOS by, quote, passing every residential building in the city. This complaint also alleges that Verizon was bound to provide video services to any resident who wanted it as the fiber network spread throughout the city. Verizon was meant to take customer requests seriously, and as the network installation expanded, make sure the infrastructure could support them. Let's see. However, according to the city, Verizon, quote, defaulted, end quote, on these promises, and it is... My dog's doing something funny. And I'm back. Just had to take my dog outside. Okay, where was I? That's an old 90s song from those Time Life commercials or whatever it was. So anyways, yeah, they broke their, quote, promise. Top comment says, more cities need to do this, or better yet, don't give companies virtually exclusive access to begin with. Another comment says, the city told them multiple times that they didn't want to sue them. And let's see, this is what complicates the specific situation. NYC doesn't want money. They want internet infrastructure. City goal was to expand access to fiber networks. So, yeah. Well, they should have done it. They need to be kicked out then. That's my opinion on the matter. Next story comes from SMH. Smackmyhead.com.au. So Australia. That was not an Australian accent. I apologize. I suck at accents. The Sydney Morning Herald. New site of the year, it says. This comes from Patrick Begley. Titled, Parents Charged Over Son's Death After, quote, Healing Workshop. 2 Sydney parents have been charged with the manslaughter of their diabetic 6-year-old son, who died after attending a self-healing course where he was allegedly deprived of insulin and food. Emergency services found the year one student. I don't know how old that is. Oh, 6. Well, it just said 6-year-old. Student unconscious and not breathing at the Ritz Hotel in Hertzville. Great name. In 2015, after the boy had left the workshop, hauled out at a nearby clinic, he died at the scene. Police on Tuesday arrested the boy's father and mother at their home in Sydney's West. Oh, okay. Police on Tuesday arrested the boy's father and mother at their home in Prospect in Sydney's West and took them into custody, alleging their, quote, gross negligence, end quote, caused the boy's death. Authorities believe the parents were complicit in the deliberate denial of food and medicine. But the man who ran the $1,800 week-long course, whoa, dang, well, money over there's different, never mind. Long course continues to elude police in Australia as well as Britain, where he was recently detained on suspicion of manslaughter over another death. Sounds a little sketchy if you ask me. Quote, you have to be hard a little bit, cruel a little bit, but not too much, end quote. Said when describing, I guess, the son. Let's see. This guy, Chinese born, self-described healer, who left Australia in the days after the death. Practices. Can you hear that? Sorry, if you can. He was treating a 71-year-old diabetic when she died in October. Yeah. Just take your kid to a hospital. Don't deprive children of food to teach them a lesson. If you want to teach them a lesson, give them food they don't want to eat. But make them eat it because they need to eat. So like instead of getting pizza, oh, you're going to have a salad the next 2 days for meals, you know? Something like that. They're hungry. They'll eat it. And then it's good for them. So there you go. So yeah, this is maybe you should have to pass a test to be a parent. How about that? Top comment says, why do people do that to their children? I get wanting to try wacky new things that might help with health, but do that to yourself and leave the kid out of it. Good point. Another comment says, the parents need to try this cool new treatment for mental illness. They put the crazy parents in a sealed room and teach them to survive without any air. Yeah. I think it's called space. Throw them up in space. See if any other comments are. Yeah, this is the big difference between science/medicine versus homeopathy and, quote, self-healing. With homeopathy and self-healing, you have to, quote, believe for it to work. If you don't believe that it is working, then it wouldn't work. When it does work, most of the time it is because you believed in it. And the placebo effect did the actual work. Science and modern medicine just work, believe it or not. Okay, yep, that's sad. But yeah, they should go to jail. I'm sorry. You don't deprive a kid of food. Yeah, that's... Now this is sad. Man breaks into mosque, rips copies of Quran. This comes from abc7news.com. Man broke into an Arizona mosque earlier this week and desecrated copies of the Quran. The Islamic Center of Tucson said Tuesday. The suspect entered the mosque on Monday around early morning and ripped copies of the Quran before throwing them on the floor. Quote, he ripped copies of the Quran and threw them around the prayer room before leaving the building. End quote. Surveillance footage calculated by the center showed the suspect wearing a red University of Arizona t-shirt and a baseball cap. Vandalism comes on the heels of do people not proofread stuff? The vandalism comes on the heels of a separate of threats directed. Oh, okay. I guess I did. I need a shirt that says I read too fast. That's what I need. The vandalism comes on the heels of a spat of threats directed at Jewish community centers across the country. Last month, a group of Muslim activists started a crowdfunding campaign to help repair a vandalized Jewish cemetery near St. Louis, Missouri, as opposed to St. Louis, Canada. The activists said they aimed to stand. It's just talking about the other Jewish story. Yeah, this is stupid. Whatever you believe, you believe. Whatever you want to practice, you can practice as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. You can believe in whatever you want. I don't care. Just don't hurt anyone. Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt anyone else. It's people that think they're better than everyone else that breaks up that idea. Like this guy. The top comment says, basically being a smart ass, saying that he's a wonderful and tolerant person. Second comment, is it really so hard to not destroy other people's stuff? Like, really? Just don't do it. You didn't need to do that. So what if you wanted to? You have no right. Another comment. Can't wait to hear all the fake news cronies pretend like this event did not occur or otherwise. Another comment. Whatever happened to do unto others as you would have done unto yourself? Exactly. Be nice to other people. Plain and simple. Everyday life. Be good to one another. Okay, next story comes from Reuters. Reuters.com. ABC ordered to face defamation trial over pink slime reports. I really hope that's not being picked up in the microphone. That's my popper stopper. Stops all the pop from getting through. This is by Jonathan Stemple. A South Dakota state judge has ordered ABC Broadcasting to face a potential $5.7 billion defamation lawsuit claiming it damaged Beef Products, Inc. by referring in a series of reports to a meat product it sold as pink slime. Judge Cheryl Goering of the Union County Circuit Court in Elk Point, South Dakota, dismissed the claims against anchor Diane Sawyer, but said ABC a unit of Walt Disney Company. And reporter Jim Avila must defend against such claims. Quote, a jury could determine that there is clear and convincing evidence that ABC Broadcasting and Mr. Avila were reckless, that defendants had obvious reason to doubt the veracity of informants, and that they engaged in a purposeful avoidance of the truth. End quote. During a hearing last month. The judge said Sawyer was different in part because her actions as anchor, which limits her involvement in doing research, were not sufficient to establish defamation. That's a good point. She was just basically told to say that. That is her job. She does not do the research. Other people do the research at ABC. She just relays the news. Kind of like I am. Goering did not rule on the case's merits. Reuters obtained a transcript of the February 8th hearing. The decision was reported earlier by the Wall Street Journal. I don't know how I feel about them. Quote, we are pleased that the court dismissed all claims against Diane Sawyer, blah, 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 blah. Oh, wah. Wah, 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 wah. A jury trial scheduled for June 5th could last 8 weeks. You don't know how long it's going to last. Could last 1 week, could last 4 weeks, could last 10 weeks. Just say a jury trial is scheduled for June 5th. Don't add more words. Are you getting paid by the word? Probably. BPI said ABC's reports in March and April 2012 implied that the South Dakota-based company's product was not safe, not nutritious, and not even meat. BPI has claimed up to $1.9 billion in damages, which could be tripled to $5.7 under South Dakota's Agriculture Food Products Disparagement Act. That's a mouthful. U.S. Department of Agriculture has called BPI's product safe, but some retailers, including Walmart Stores, Inc., stopped selling ground beef containing it after the ABC reports. Several other defendants were previously dismissed from the case, including a former Agriculture Department microbiologist said to have coined pink slime in a 2002 email. The case is Beef Products Inc. at L, ETAL, versus American Broadcasting Costs at L. Okay. First Judicial Circuit Court of South Dakota, Union County, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that kind of sucks for ABC, but I remember hearing about pink slime and that they were trying to take it away or take it out of stuff, and that was it. That's all I remember. Top comment says, ABC is very likely to pay a fine over this. The product in question isn't, quote, pink slime. It is a mixture of lean beef trimmings, which are left over from other forms of meat processing. You can't realistically sell the corners of meat which are cut away from various cuts of beef during processing. You also don't want to be wasteful and throw away perfectly good meat, which people wrongly disable leftovers of beef. They solve the problem by creating LFTB, or lean, finely textured beef. This product is entirely made of beef. There's nothing artificial in it. They simply took all the leftovers from processing and mashed it into a beef paste, which could be used to supplement beef products like hamburger and sausage. It's 100% beef. There is nothing in this which supports the claim of it being, quote, pink slime, end quote. And that is where the lawsuit is going to be a problem for ABC. It's the equivalent of calling peanut butter a brown gunk as a description. It's disingenuous, and it misrepresents what the product actually is. That's a good first comment. That is a very good first comment. Trying to explain stuff. One of the other top comments, the myth was pretty heavily busted, at least in regards to chicken nuggets, by a Mythbuster, no less. Actually, yeah, how it's made, Grant Imahara went and learned how chicken nuggets were made. Yeah. I'm going to watch that later. Next story. Trump gives CIA authority to conduct drone strikes. From the Wall Street Journal. And it's from Reuters again, but it's from Wall Street Journal. Article states, President Trump has given the Central CIA new authority to conduct drone attacks against suspected militants. The Wall Street Journal reported on Monday, citing U.S. officials. The move would be a change from policy of former President Barack Obama's administration of limiting the CIA's paramilitary role, the newspaper reported, in regards to the Wall Street Journal. The White House, the U.S. Department of the DOD, and the CIA did not immediately respond. Do people write this by the word? Just say the White House, the DOD, the CIA, not the White House, the U.S. Well, they didn't write out United States. I'm surprised. The U.S. Department of Defense and the CIA did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Obama had sought to influence global guidelines for the use of drone strikes as other nations began pursuing their own drone programs. The United States was the first to use unmanned aircrafts in... Okay. Critics of the targeted killing program question whether the strikes create more militants than they kill. They cite the spread of jihadist organizations and militant attacks throughout the world as evidence that targeted killings may be exacerbating the problem. This article doesn't really go into anything. Not saying really why he authorized it, how he authorized it, what are his intentions of doing this, just that he did it. Yeah, this article doesn't really say anything. Top comment. Trump didn't really give them authority. They heard him say it was okay through his Samsung TV. Another comment. Look, if you're going to spread garbage like that, at least get it right. It was a microwave. Read your words, people, before you post. Isn't this he was condemning Obama for? You forgot the word what. Here we go. Another comment says, it is unclear exactly what is new here. The reporting on this is quite confused. The CIA has been killing people, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay. Okay. So basically, CIA was just given authority to do drone strikes. There. That's the story. Why not just say that? Make it short and simple. Don't have to make a short article about it when there's nothing in the article. And if you do make an article, put more into it. I hate it when people do that. Okay, I guess that's good for today. Or for now. Because we're a little past 30 minutes. But I will be back next time. Tomorrow. tomorrow. I'll have another show tomorrow. It's only a day away. Yeah. So, with that said, good night and good luck.